Hey everybody. I just tried to change my message into an @everyone ping. Did you get @everyone pinged? Okay, so some of you didn't have the stream notification roll and you still got pinged. Okay, we're gonna wait a little bit to see if anybody else joins the stream, but you can hear me okay, correct? Perfect. Hello, hello. Okay. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the the reflection stream about the 1.0 contest. Not gonna lie, this is one of the most this is one of the things I was most nervous about, is because there's a lot to talk about. Post-mortem, yes. Exactly right. Okay. There is a lot we can talk about, because this was such a big contest. Oh my goodness. Actually, I might even turn this even further down. So, hello everybody. Just kind of waiting for other people to join in at before we get started here. But yeah, the contest is over. It officially ended like a week ago, I think. So, first off, what are our thoughts on the contest? I just want to see in the comments, what did you think about the contest as a whole? Just give me your thoughts down below to start us off here, as we wait for some others to join. Leaving already. Oh, that's all right. People will be able to take a look at this afterwards, so. Awesome. I am very glad to hear that it was fun. That was one of my main goals when I first created this contest, so I appreciate y'all saying that. Blue expectations, exactly right, Pulvanock. We'll get into that in a little bit here. But yeah, okay. I wasn't the best organized for this, but I think what I'm going to do is start at the very beginning of the contest. Okay, so I hide that. And maybe I find a different song to play while we do this, because this is going to get annoying. What's a really long song? Oh. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let me just turn that down a little bit. Okay. So let's talk about what went well, starting from the very beginning. So we're talking about the very beginning of this. I originally came up with the idea to make this contest a reality back after I finished Envious. So if you have not played Envious yet, that is the 5th level in the Geometry Jump Journey collection, which is my 1.0 level series. It became the first featured level 1.0 level in 2.2. Also, so like that blew everyone's mind. That blew my mind especially. It was also the first time I got an epic send. Although Crano might have sent Polar Plunge for epic before that, but it was the first time I knew that I had an epic send. And yeah, the people who really helped me get Envious rated was Giggs. Giggs has been a supporter of the Geometry Jump Journey collection since Polar Plunge. Once Giggs found that out, he sent like Polar Plunge and he sent Goodbye Summer, and then he told me we had a little bit of a discussion, and he asked, I would love to see what the next one is, and so I also accidentally spoiled it for him by posting a feedback thing in his server, and he asked me to never do that again. So he wants to always be jumped into with a surprise in it, and so when I was thinking about making this contest, Giggs was one of the first people that jumped out to me as, hey, I could have moderator judges. And Giggs would be one of my first choices. Another person that really helped Envious get rated was Mag. Mag was actually the send that got it rated. Mag sent it shortly before RobTep rated, sent it for an epic feature, which, as we've seen with 1.0, Rob separates it a rating down. So that epic send got it featured. Incredible, like, blow me away. So Mag was another one that I was like, hey, I could ask them to become a judge for this contest. Because when I was first designing this contest, I wanted to make 1.0 more known. But I also was like, I'm going to be realistic here. There only might be 10 people in this contest. So I've got to set the prizes around the idea that there will be nobody that joins. Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm not very big in the community. At least that's what I thought. I thought I was a pretty small creator. Because I'm not the person that's getting their levels rated every time on release. I'm just a guy who's making 1.0 projects because the editor was too complex. So I designed the contest around the idea that I will probably get no more than 30 entries. But I still wanted to have an elaborate judge team. So I wanted to have 4. Ideally, I would have 4 judges. I was realistically expecting there to only be like 2. But I wanted to ask Giggs and Mag. I also wanted to ask Scorch XP. If you don't know Scorch, Scorch test played Envious and was one of my biggest supporters in 1.0 creation, even with outside of my sphere of knowledge. He was sharing it in other Discord servers. And Scorch did a great job test playing. Envious is where it is because of that test playing Scorch did, so I'm very happy about that. And I also asked Crano, because Crano, a little fun fact, we were in a Geometry Dash drop together. And that's a competition where you're given a prompt and you gotta submit the best levels that go towards that prompt. And it was like a 10 to 12 round event. And Crano and I came second and first place. I actually took the win. It was the first time I ever did a G drop. And it was called a J drop. It was in Czech Steam server. And yeah. Crano also talked about how much he loved Polar Plunge whenever I was in chats. So he got mods shortly, I think during the G drop contest. So I asked if he would like to judge the contest, and all the mods said yes. And all the people I asked said yes. So I had my judging team. And that is the point where it's like, okay, I can do this. So because I had my team, I was like, yes, we can do this. Once again, we're still thinking the most amount of entries we're going to get is 30. And that's kind of how I approach the judges, is we're going to have probably 30 entries. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. I will make it as easy for you as possible. So that was our expectation. The video was like it wasn't my first video production, but it was close to some of my first video production. It's my first time doing YouTube stuff with my voice as well, which was a pretty big step for me. But yeah, that's how it started. It started as a celebration for Envious getting featured, as well as a push to get more 1.0 levels made and seen. So yeah, that's our first point. What went well? The outreach. Our expectations were set for 30. We caught the YouTube algorithm. What did that mean? That meant that we had over 300 entries by the end of the contest. The video got 5K views within the week. Within a couple days. It blew up. I don't know how many of you found it in your recommended. I see Shy Guy did. But yeah, it popped off everywhere. Let me restart that song. Actually, I'll play a different one. Oop. But yeah, it caught the algorithm and it just flew. I actually, when I released the video, I spent 30 minutes pasting it into Discord servers, not expecting anybody to look at it. Apparently, some people did, which also shocked me. But I spent like the first month of the contest trying to get it seen because I'm like, nobody's gonna enter. Lo and behold, the outreach apparently was so good that this became one of the biggest contests of the year. Which is crazy to me. Because I'm not a contest host. I'm just a guy. I had to really adapt into that. And Scorch especially helped with that. Because Scorch is the one who designed the original server. This is a server that Scorch made. That a lot of you have come from. So I am very appreciative of Scorch's efforts done to making this community. Bringing me to the second thing of what went well. The community. I was very worried, as that's a common theme of me. I have worry problems, but I was worried that the server would get pretty toxic, or get pretty flooded. Or that people would be mean towards others. But no, the community was really welcoming. Y'all are really nice people. I really appreciate it. I had to hardly do any moderation. And yeah, server fixes became easy. There wasn't anyone trying to abuse the server. People used the channels for what they were supposed to be used for, and if they didn't, a respectful nudge was all that was needed. For reference, the server was made about a week after the contest started, because Scorch is like, this is getting pretty big, we should probably have a central place to talk about stuff. And he was so right. Having this community has been very awesome, and is probably one of the proudest things that came out of this contest for me. I'm just playing NLK songs I have downloaded, so. Yeah, a lot of people, it was their #1 server. Anyway, I'm getting rambly. So, yeah, community was extremely welcoming. And that is when I started realizing that we had some problems regarding preparation and specifics. What do I mean by this? I mean that I should have quintuple checked everything before I pasted it onto YouTube. Because here's what happened. The original block palette I had in the level that I released for people to copy was incorrect. We had the 1.3 block. We had we were missing all the pulse sticks in the original block palette. I think those are the main two problems, but they were big problems nonetheless. There are a lot of people that were complaining that I should have used the original object IDs, but I didn't think that was a big issue. The other thing is I didn't realize that I wasn't very specific. Because after a few days, my YouTube comment section was flooded with questions. I've been building 1.0 for so long, and I was like, okay, people should be able to get what to do from this, and I was so wrong. I thought layering was pretty common knowledge. That was a 2.0 introduction, like editor layers. It's not. People thought they could use editor layers. They thought they could use Z layers. They thought they could use L layers. 2.2 options. A lot of people thought that they could get away with using those. Scaling, warp. Yeah. A lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, L1, L2 layers. It means that, I think it means you can put stuff on multiple layers at the same time, multiple editor layers at the same time. Not entirely sure. Oh, another one was linked objects. Like, people thought linked objects was from 1.0. And that was a huge problem. I ended up making a video discussing how to make a 1.0 level, because I didn't realize people didn't know. It was an oversight on my part. I thought people wouldn't try to do options like that. It surprised me people didn't even know what backgrounds and grounds to use. So that is something I will definitely be keeping in mind for future stuff, future events, future contests, is really being specific about it. Yeah, linked objects came in 2.11. It came in a small editor fix. Yeah. So yeah, that is a huge problem, was I didn't prepare very well with the prizes and the influx stuff. So yeah, and so I had to answer a lot of questions. I wasn't very specific with what was allowed, so that is a problem on me. That is something I will fix in a future contest. But that gets to our next thing about what went well. I hope this isn't too boring, by the way, but I will be answering questions later. I just want to go through the overview of stuff, and there's a very important thing I need to get off my chest coming up. But something else that went well is I felt like my communication and involvement with the contest was awesome. I don't want to like toot my own horn, but from what I've seen from previous GD contests, the host barely interacted with the community. Or the host didn't actively answer questions or actively comment and leave feedback. I didn't want that to be this contest. I wanted to be as involved as possible with the development of people's 1.0 styles and making sure that things stayed fresh and fun. Any questions got answered, stuff like that. And I think the Discord server really helped with that, because I was able to do feedback on everything. Yeah, I played every single level like 4 times. I played it once, and I'll get more into my about the process I did for grading. But I played every level like 4 different times. I left feedback on everything. I wanted to make sure every level had a comment from me, because I felt like that was important. I felt like people knowing that their entry was valued in the contest was important. I know that's not something every host can do, but I had the ability to get it done, so I took the time to make sure that happened. I dedicated a lot of time to this. In fact, I should probably actually add that to this, not things that didn't go well. Because I was so involved as a host, my personal time kind of went down the drain. I'm a substitute teacher. I had to cut back some days I taught in order to catch up on grading or in order to play other levels. My time spent during plan periods was dedicated to this contest. Stuff like that. I need to find another song to just play. Dang, I have a lot of random garbage. We'll do Always Forever again, why not? Okay. Yeah, nice was a comment I left, but yeah. Yeah, nobody knew I was hosting the Shine contest, but like that sank my personal time. The time I spent with my girlfriend also got affected worse than I wanted it to due to like the Discord server and stuff. I got pretty addicted to my phone. I was like constantly checking for updates, and I am still that way. Like this contest has made me kind of phone addicted. I'm gonna actually put that down here because I wanted to keep on top of things. But what that ended up happening is that some of my personal time spent with my girlfriend, it wasn't as meaningful as it could have been. And she's been struggling finishing her college school experience, so I wasn't there as much as I wanted to be, and that is something that I greatly, that's something I greatly regret. Is I kind of made this my main priority, which I feel really bad about. So it's one of those things where I was struggling to balance the important things I needed to put attention towards. The other one was family as well, but my family's kind of used to not talking much and all that, so it was the easiest one to balance out of all of them, but yeah. GD is a major time sink, especially if you're doing a lot of creating and a lot of level beating involved in Discord servers. That's why there's the whole notion that GD players can't get girlfriends, because most of them can't pull away and balance Geometry Dash, life, and supporting somebody else, or being there for somebody else. And I really felt that pressure while hosting this, because, yeah, it was a lot to manage. Okay, what I did want to also talk about, server-wise, I felt like a lot of the stuff in the server went really well. The feedback channel, awesome. The showcase channel, awesome. The general channel was great. Off topic, it was used perfectly fine. I ended up making a channel talking about commonly questioned things related to 1.0 building. Although I feel like that channel should have been used more by some people, it still was fine. Contest rules was fine. Submission was fine. And yeah, we were pretty much chilling. The one thing I was really disappointed in was the unrated levels of the week. This was something I was really excited about. Showcasing the levels that didn't get more than 5 likes and didn't have a face rating. I really, really, really wanted to get some of these levels more plays. Oh yeah, underrated, sorry. You're completely right, and okay. The underrated levels of the week. And honestly, y'all disappointed me. I spent like hours after the end of each week putting together the list of levels because I wanted y'all to go play them and show support to your fellow CC contestants. And a lot of you didn't. I know NLK played them, Misty Walrus played them. I think Polvanok and Pancake also showed some support there, but a lot of people didn't show support to these. And I'm deeming this as kind of what didn't go well in the contest, because the time I sank into putting this together did not output well for the levels getting noticed. Yeah, a lot of levels did get played, but there's still levels where I feel like they just didn't get seen. And that's why I had a award at the end of the results video for an underrated level. And like Air Raid was my favorite level of the week, and it didn't get seen. Like, even when I said it was one of my favorite levels I've seen this week, nobody played it. It's really disappointing. But yeah, other than that, the server was doing great. Levels, and that's something I should mention. I'm going to actually show you the original document here. This is the original document. This is the OG one that I got all my submissions from. I was getting quite a bit of levels. Like, these were coming in a lot. And Scorch said it best. He's like, oh lord, there's so much stuff. Yeah, there is. We got a lot of levels. After like the first couple weeks, we were already at like 75 levels. And we were rapidly heading towards 100. And here is where I started getting a bit scared. Yes, I did get scared when I saw them, but not in the way you thought. I could handle them. I would have been able to put in the time to handle this. What I was worried about was the other judges. Because they signed up for a contest that would give them like 30 results. And what happened is we were rapidly increasing in results. So keep in mind, the time frame for when the contest started and when the contest ended was about a month and 3 weeks. Within the first 2 weeks, we were already at like 74 levels. So, realizing this, I did, I organized something with the judging. So what I did is I sent over the judges the first 50. Now, at the time, I was like, this is a great idea. This gives the judges something to do while they wait, even though I told them they didn't have to. This gave them something to do so they don't have everything at the end to judge. We're only going to get about maybe 100, maybe most 150 entries. It shouldn't be too bad. We'll get the first 50 knocked out in like the next week. It'll be all good. So I spend the time, and that's something I do need to talk about with judging. Before the judges graded, I spent the time calculating. Let me change the text here. I spent the time calculating 1.0 usage and optimization. And what I did is I calculated out of 10, calculated optimization out of 5, and this category got weighted. So it got out of 10, it then turned the score into out of 25. So for instance, if you got a 9 out of 10, your score would be a 22.5 out of 25. So, yeah. And how I think I explained how I went about doing this. There were some things I took off 0.5 for. There were things I took off a full point for. If you failed to actually use the object stuff, you got a really low score, which would disqualify you as well sometimes. But, like, the disqualification was, like, you had to get below a 5 on this score, which you really had to not know what you were doing. But, yeah. I graded this before the judges would grade everything else. So that's important to note. So, like, this is my judging sheet. I manually calculated the weightedness of the 1.0 usage. So here it is. As you can see, it is out of 25. This entry got a really low score, but 23.75, 23, 25, 22.5. I manually calculated that, and then I had weighted columns for the judges scoring. So they would only have to score out of 10. the judges, all the categories are out of 10 for them. So they just put gameplay at 10, decoration at 10, and then gameplay and decoration, I had an automatic system that would weight them to 25. I'm a teacher. I know how to weight grades and all that. So that is how the judging went. I would first give the 1-to-1 optimization score, and then I would send it over to the judges. So that's how it went. So what I ended up doing, let me play some music here. What I ended up doing is I sent the first 50 levels to the judges first. And I'm like, okay, they should be able to get this done in a few weeks. What I did not expect to happen is I would be the first done. The rest of the judges took a while. And 2 of the judges didn't finish the first 50 entries until the due date. Which by that point, we realized, oh hell, we have 300. So I probably should have put a deadline on this. Yeah, we're going to talk more about the judging later, but let's talk about the scoring real fast before we get onto the Giga collab. I want to show you something regarding this sheet. A lot of people were wondering why Aether Construct didn't win, and here is why. So here is Spiced's row. Take a look at this. They got what I would call a perfect 25-5. That meant they got 25 points on their 1.0 usage and 5 points on their optimization. That's a perfect score. Here is what they got from my end, regarding their gameplay, decoration, creativity. So I gave it a 7.5 in gameplay, 10 in decoration, 9 in creativity, and 10 in sync. So that's Spiced's score. Very good score, by the way. Gameplay was the only thing that really gave me some troubles. But let's take a look at Aether Constructs now. Take a look at the score I gave Aether Construct. This score is a lot better. 9, 10, 10, 10 is nearly perfect. If this 9 was a 10, it would be a perfect score. I loved Aether Construct. I loved it a lot. What ended up hurting Aether Construct was this. They got a 20 out of 25 in 1.0 usage. That gave him a 92.5 overall. And Spiced a 92.75. This is why Spiced beat Aether Construct. Is because Aether Construct's 1.0 score held down the rest of the judges' scores. Yeah. So, what did Aether Construct do that took it out? Took points off of its 1.0 usage? Let's talk about that. And I actually haven't mentioned inside the form response here. Aether Construct is like 100 to 1. No, it's not. That's hiding in my room. Where's Aether Construct? Oh, here it is. Okay. So, Aether Construct went past the ceiling. The invisible ground ship part was because a rocket portal was placed above this the ceiling, which meant they dechecked the legacy feature of having the ceiling, put the rocket portal up there, put all the gameplay up there, then rechecked it when they were verifying. That's why the rocket portal has that invisible ground, is because it's past the rendering of the legacy physic. Aether Construct also used editor layering, which is not a 1.0 feature. And there was a few micro movements that only lost some like 0.5. But like some of the slopes at the end used movements that were too small for 1.0, which also made them very smooth and unable to like die when you were holding on them. Yeah, so. And that was a very unfortunate thing. That was actually what caused the upset, was these three things. Because Spice didn't do any of that. Spice had no layers, no linked objects. Optimization was perfect. Spice got a 25.5 on that, so. Yeah. Aether Construct still did really good. 8 out of 10 equates to 20 out of 25. That's still a very good score. But, yeah. Not great. I'm going to play this song because I have it downloaded for some reason. Okay. Yeah. So, to those wondering why Aether Construct didn't win, that is why. That is why. Both Spice and Aether Construct were highly loved by the judges. It's just Spice did better job with their 1.0 usage than Aether Construct. Okay. Before I get to the big Debbie Downer of the contest, I want to talk about how great the Giga collab happened. The Giga collab, actually, I'm gonna play all this forever. The Giga collab was a huge success. Much more than I thought would have been possible. And here's the thing about the Giga collab. People doubted me when I posted the plans for it. Scorch was like, there's no way you're getting this done in the time period that you have labeled. Yeah. And let me see if I can actually find the Giga collab. Yeah. So here's my Giga collab plan. So first people started October 3rd before the contest even ended. And I gave them about 3 days to build, because I would let them know kind of like in the middle of October 3rd, hey, it's time for you to build. So they got like 3.5 days to build their part and send it back to me. Which isn't a lot of time, but it's enough time because each part was only, 5 seconds. I guess I should also mention, when I was planning out the Giga collab, I had to cut the song. The song's originally like 7 minutes, but I had to do some song cuts to put it up to 12 minutes and 52 seconds, or 12 minutes. Yeah. It's all good, NLK. The song you wrote was incredible. But I did have to do some song cutting to make sure that the level worked well. And yeah, I was also taking in people at that point, anyone who is interested. And I should have been more specific with with how to enter, because I had people who submitted both their accounts. I had some people who submitted and then, yeah. Yeah, the song was also written in 2 weeks, which was very, very, very cool. But yeah, so I'm trying to remember how it all went. Oh yeah, I had in the Get Rolls channel, I let anybody who wanted to claim a roll, and this was before I had it figured out how long the level would be. And so when I found out, oh, it's 138 plots only, I immediately closed the rolls because it was like at the point where it was 38 people. I'm like, oh crap. Then I later realized I clicked on the roll, Carlbot already had the roll, and the Real Darkness submitted their name twice. So what actually happened is I had 3 extra slots, which is so relieving. It's easier to fill slots than it is to take slots away. So I was very relieved when I realized I had 3 slots. But yeah. I guess I should mention over here. So yeah, I had it all planned out. I made a video about how to make your entry and submit it to me. I was very detailed in the process of submission just because I want to make sure this all went well. I had it laid out to where the people who specified to me that they had a low-end device went first. So these I knew were people who were confident enough to participate that they filled out a form. So I let them go first. They were people with low-end devices, confident enough to start that they filled out the form, and I got pretty much every part that I needed from those people who filled that out. The next group I had after that were the people who didn't specify. As in, I did not hear from them if they were on a low-end device or high-end device, or what type of intensity they wanted in the level. AKA, these people did not fill out the form. AKA, it was the most problematic group. You may have noticed that Wave 6, Wave 7, Wave 8, to those who participated, had hardly anybody turn in their part. And that's because they dropped out. They dropped out of the content, out of the collab. And this was the biggest hurdle related to collab work I have faced. On the bright side, I had a slot for Cody, which Mattmar helped me get in connection to. On the downside, I lost a lot of people. Let me actually find the original collab order. I can tell you who lost it. Okay, so this is, that's not so long. Here's the roster. Fluxstep. Quit out, didn't really let me know that they quit. So I had to send a message to them, and when they just didn't respond, I took them out. Franco-American. Or Goober is what his name was. Goober444. Just no response. Had to take him out. Didn't even know what this guy's GD username was. Their Discord name was Beer. Didn't respond. I think they actually left the server before it became time for them to build. Had to quit him out. Like 3 people in a row had to replace. It became a problem. Who else didn't? Let's see here. Dizzy Roach never participated. I had to replace them with Billy Steak. So, hey, Starcar. Also, I also had a bunch of people. If you see an asterisk next to their name, that meant that they were non-Discord. So I was in communication with them in GD messages, and that became a problem for some of these people. Let's see here. BK Gaming Online didn't respond to me until like 6 waves after their wave. So that became a problem of getting their entry done. I knew they wanted to collab with me bad, so I kept them in. But that became a huge problem. Cat, I don't know even who that was. They never responded back about the collab, so I had to replace them. I didn't have anybody for slot 49. I think that eventually became just Cody. No, that was someone else, but 49 was an empty slot when I made this roster. Let's see here. Who else? Granada. I was so excited to see what Granada could build. Granada is an amazing creator. When I sent them a message, they were like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. They didn't tell me ahead of time, which was kind of annoying, but. Vivian Flowers. Same situation with Granada. Didn't tell me ahead of time. I had to send a message and for them to just say no. Pretzel, I don't think did it. So that was also a problem. As you can see, we had a lot of dropouts. More than I wanted. This guy. I think. Yeah. This is a guy who would just message me being like, I want to be in. I'm entering the contest. Let me be a part of this. Didn't hear back from him. Hump, never heard back. I actually left. Their account was terminated on Discord. Hunkins, never heard back. I had to send a message and they said no. Making Banana took a long time, but they did get it done. Hank GMD, another non-Discord person who joined Discord, didn't hear back from. I think something like that. This became Cody's part. Shririo, I think, never responded back. Supermint replaced them. They just never responded back to me. Snops, I think, was similar. Yeah, I'm trying to remember all this stuff. Ghost, I think, was F and Fuser. I can't remember. Bongo Balling, I don't think ever responded back to me. Bazinga Dubstep never responded back to me. Ueno and Aburrito never responded back to me. Emil Marcus told me they were sick and couldn't participate. So, that's the roster. I had to replace so many people. I was so excited for Granada, Jonathan. They just never did it. Yeah. I have no idea what happened to some of these people. They just didn't respond back. They didn't do their part. So this has all the updated people as well on it. But let's talk about why this collab was successful. I'm going to play this again. What made this collab so successful was the fact that I had 13 people go at the same time. And what made it... How this works is you can't have people who have plots next to each other go at the same time. Because what that happens is they'll end and start in different spaces. Because this was a completely individual from each other. So I had one person from like each 10th group go. So 1, 20, 29, 36, 45, 57, 69, 77, 85, 92, 109, 113, 132. By having it organized this way, I could get 13 parts every 3 days. And so that's what I planned out. Made a week break in the center so I could spend some stuff actually enjoying the Halloween season with my girlfriend. But yeah, that's how this worked. Was 13 people that aren't next to each other go at one time. That allows me to get 13 parts, theoretically 13 parts each wave. With the people who quit, that didn't become a thing. Unfortunately, like you can see here, Wave 7, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people finish. Wave 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people finish. And so around the break, I'm like, okay. With all the people that have quit and haven't responded, we have a problem. So what I did is I made the subform. Yeah, this was for time efficiency. I created the subform as a way to be like, if I have people checkmark at the end that they will do it no matter what, I am guaranteed to have these people finish. So, subform I took on a first come, first served basis. And I filled in parts that I needed to fill in when I had them. Unfortunately, due to the way things worked out, we actually ran into a problem twice. Those two, and where's Ramses? I can't remember what the other one is, but these guys have the same plot and they're right next to each other in the last wave. What I ended up to do was add end and start blocks for them so that they would end and start in the same spot. But that became that was a minor problem that was easy to fix. But yeah. Test playing went very well as well. A lot of things were caught. I did a bunch of streaming as well so that everybody could be involved with that. We didn't get done before December. We got done around December 7th, I think is when I submitted it. But so many people were shocked that I organized, hosted, and test played and verified this within like 2 months. I'm also shocked by that. Because normally this type of stuff takes years. Or a year, a couple months at least. Quite a few months at least, but... this I would consider to be a massive success. The Giga Collab was a massive success. The time frame I gave everybody, the organization internally with how things were run and who I was grabbing. The roster was very solid. I only had to replace like 10 to 15 people. The announcement about it and announcements about the updates were very solid. The dropouts were really annoying, but we got it figured out. So... great question, Mr. Penguin Yeet. Who voted no? Who said they would not participate? Without surprise, Gigs said that they would not participate. And what that showed me is Gigs would love to have seen the level get finished. He just didn't have the time for it, and I appreciate that honesty. Echo the Bat Furry, said that they would not participate in the collab, but likewise I interpreted that as they would love to see it made. They just didn't want to participate in the collab, which is totally fine. There was a couple other people. I don't remember their names, but they were kind of the same way. They wanted to see it made. They just didn't want to participate. So, yeah. Those who didn't respond at all are those who probably didn't even care. So, hey, Kilty. So, yeah, massive success the Giga Collab was. Also a massive success was all the rates we were able to get. Let me see if I can find... Oh, I think I deleted the list, but I had a list of all the contest rates, but we can kind of see them here. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, hold on. I need to switch the screen. My bad. I'll do that again. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and most recently, a couple days ago, 14. Levels that were entered in the contest and got rated. We also had a level not entered in the contest, but was made for the contest that got rated, which was 1.00. I don't really consider this level to be a contest level, especially because... Let me see if I can show you. Where is the spikes? That art 1.0. We got a pink pad there. And there, you can also see throughout that there are small spikes that weren't 1.0. So this really isn't a 1.0 level. I have to include it, though, because it's built to the idea of the limitations. Yeah, they didn't finish this entry in time to enter it, so they didn't finish it in time for me to see it. They used 1.4 spikes in it, and then pink pads. Like, it's technically 15 levels made for the contest that are rated. I just don't count this one. I don't think it's very good in the in the limitations. So, but yeah, money. Let me find another. Oh, that's not right. Where is? Wait, I'm blanking. Where's the? What? Oh, options. There you go. Oh, dang. Blanking out. Tech drive circuit, sure. But yeah. We got a lot of levels rated. Also got my first rated list rated. I made that list very shortly after Skyfall and the Reliquary got featured. And I'm very, very happy that it got rated. A lot of the mods in the contest rallied behind getting it rated. Scorch, for instance, was pacing it in Vipernin pace during that time period. And yeah, we got a 1.0 gauntlet in list form, but the 1.0 gauntlet is a thing. 5 featured 1.0 levels because of this contest. I think that's incredible. I think that's a major highlight. But yeah, as I talked about, we got 300 entries to the contest that weren't disqualified. As you can see, I highlighted everything in red that was disqualified. Anything in orange was stuff that was on the edge of disqualification or was an unlisted level. But let's talk about probably... I'm actually going to turn this off, turn this one on. Let's talk about what has been the biggest nightmare of the last few months for me. And that's the judging. We already mentioned the first 50 first. But what I do need to mention is how the rest of the judging went. Yeah. So here's what happens. Gigs finished everything first. Gigs finished everything, I think, 2 weeks or so after 2 to 3 weeks after the contest ended, which made sense. I was still working on the Giga collab hosting. I was getting through it where I could. I was also subbing as well as leaving time for my girlfriend, trying to balance all that out. Gigs flew through stuff after a little bit. Really, really hammered it home. But what I do need to mention is that Gigs did not judge everything. Gigs skipped a couple levels he felt were not judge-worthy. Most notably these beginning ones. And eventually what I did is I highlighted them in orange, so no judge had to grade them. But there's some other ones here that he just kind of skipped over. Let's see if I can find one. Yeah. Like this one, he didn't determine it to be a clear enough level. As in, there was a lot of sections that felt unfinished. Pretty much anything he thought felt unfinished, he chose to skip. Which is fine. I think he actually went back and graded a lot of, like this one as well. Billy Stakes entry. Unfortunately got skipped. Because he thought it was an unfinished level. And I didn't quite realize this until after he was all done judging. So I apologize, Billy Stake. Gigs did not choose to judge your level for the contest. Other than a couple of entries like that, Gigs graded everything, as you can see here. So something else I should mention is unlisted levels. So Gigs finished first, I finished next. But there were a couple levels that we didn't judge, or that the other judges except me didn't judge. Any level you see, so here's my released spreadsheet. Any level you see in orange was not graded by judges other than myself. And the reason for this was either they changed their level before the contest was done, or it was an unlisted level, or there was something else that prevented it from being playable. So for instance, these two levels, One of them had an end trigger, and you had to play it on LDM. The other had a start pause, and you had to delete it in the editor. This level, for the longest time, was considered unlisted. It actually had a rare Geometry Dash bug where people couldn't find it. It was suffering from an unlisted related issue. Because it was not findable by everybody, and because these had so much stuff behind them to get it working, I highlighted it as orange. I still graded the orange. That's something I need to preface, is I graded everything that wasn't in red. So I still graded this because I wanted to give feedback. Okay, this is hard for me. Seven Vixia this was an interesting case. I don't know if you're still in here, the creator of this level, but it had to get highlighted as orange because when you updated it, it dropped it below 45 seconds, which got any level that was below 45 got disqualified. However, because you updated your level below that, I highlighted it as orange, then still gave you feedback. But I was the only one who graded that one. This level wasn't listed, so I only graded it. This was a joke entry. It was Stereo Madness with slight changes, so I didn't let the judges grade that. It was a waste of time. This was unlisted. This was unlisted. These are levels by New Prince GD. Both unlisted, so unfortunately I was the only one who could grade them. Firepower. Let's discuss this one. This level was a completely valid entry. It had a giant section in the middle that was just blank. But then what WesP did was he thought the results were taking too long and just completely updated his level regardless and said, like, dang to the rules. The whole section was updated with the deco. The gameplay was changed. There was more stuff added. So I just highlighted it as orange and said I will give it feedback, but none of the other judges will grade it. I don't know if that's too harsh or not, but they did update it before the contest ended. So this level was unlisted and unfinished. This level, Block Factory, Nitro 2's level, never got verified. It was in an unlisted state when published. It was published by McChicken instead of Nitro. It's unlisted, so I judged it. Rose Castle. Oh my goodness, this would have been one of the best entries in the contest if it got finished. Unfortunately, it remained unlisted. And then we also had Editor's End. Again, if it had been verified, it would have been one of the best entries in the contest. But it was not verified. And I actually made a deal. If any orange entry got into my personal top 5, I would let the judges grade it. Editor's End was, I think, a point below my personal top 5. Or personal top 15. It was a point below my personal top 15. So unfortunately, it did not get graded. Hello, Meet near AMGD. They're talking about the judging, which was probably the thing that I felt the worst about. Okay. Now, I want to apologize for how the judging went, because this was not what I wanted when I was hosting this contest. In a little bit, I'll be looking at forum questions and questions from chat, but for now, I'm going to finish talking about the judging, because what happened regarding the judging was it really put me in a snafu, if you know what that means. If you don't worry, it means it put me in a very bad predicament, a problematic situation. So what happened is Gigs finished, I finished, the other judges had barely started. And I found out why. Later down the line, when I sent the messages saying, hey, how is it going? Are you going to be getting some judging done? I kept things as cordial as possible because they're doing something for me. The other 3 judges were struggling to find the time and the energy to sink into this contest judging-wise. Once again, we thought there'd be 30 entries. There turned out to be 300. I fully understood this. The thing I was most scared about was a judge saying, I'm out, and dropping it completely. Because what I promised was that there'd be 3 mod judges looking at your levels. That was part of the appeal for this contest. So I didn't want the judges to leave, but it was also becoming apparently obvious that they couldn't judge everything to the max capacity. So I had to change something regarding the judging. I laid out a couple options for all of them, and all of them chose upon one option, which we considered to be the best case in this situation that we were at. Because one of the judges was involved in med school and didn't have the time. The other 2 judges were severely burnt out by playing 1.0 levels, and were struggling to find the energy to sink into playing contest stuff, especially 300 of them. If you were in the judge's position right now, how would you all react? You can tell me in chat. If you found out that the other 2 judges are done and you still have 250 entries left to grade, how would you feel? Just curious. Because I want to see what y'all are feeling and thinking before I talk about what I did. Seen someone say they would have dropped it. Yeah. And then, okay, your perspective was actually what a lot of the moderators, or a lot of the 3 judges that didn't judge, wanted to do. They wanted to grind it out, but they didn't have the time and didn't have like the energy to do so. Yeah. And they were still motivated. They wanted to play as many of the entries as possible. They even asked if I could keep the form up outside the results so they could play everything. But to get the results done in a timely manner, because some of you might have noticed it took 2 months, over 2 months, for the results to come out. And it's because the three judges I had, they were really struggling to find the motivation for this. Yeah. And I wanted to get the results out as fast as possible, so I had to make a compromise. Well, all 4 of us had to make a compromise about what we were going to do, and here's what we decided to do. Please understand that we were really struggling to find other options. I'm going to show you Scorch's grade sheet to kind of show this off. I did talk with these judges. They were okay with me showing this off and letting y'all know what happened. But anything you see highlighted in blue was an entry that I personally gave a 70 or above to. Anything you see highlighted in magenta was an entry I gave an 80 and above to. I spent a couple hours for each of the 3 judges that weren't done doing this. Highlighting everything they haven't graded yet in pink, in magenta, or blue. And we agreed. I gave them the choice. You can either judge the blue and the magenta, or just the magenta. We had over 60 entries highlighted magenta. That is enough for a top 15 result. That would get the results out the fastest. What that came at the cost of is anything in white didn't get graded. by these 3 judges. And this is my biggest regret in the contest. But I plead with you to keep in mind the situation that we were in, where I was feeling the pressure from the contest recipients to get the results out. I had issue with 3 of the judges not doing the job that they wanted to do due to the job becoming too difficult to accomplish. We had to find a compromise, and we felt this was the best compromise that would allow for the closest, best results we could. And so, when I designed this, all 3 judges said, yes, we can grade the blue and the magenta, and we will try to get it done in a fast and timely manner. And I'm like, okay. At the same time, I felt quite dishonest. I promised everybody that there would be 3 moderator judges that would play their entry. And unfortunately, that didn't become the case. And I feel really, really bad about that. That is the biggest nightmare and biggest regret I had related to this contest, is that I had to edit what got judged. As awful as it is. Now, both Gigs and I graded pretty much everything out. I graded every single level you see on the sheet. Gigs graded almost every single level you see on the sheet, minus some orange and a few levels that didn't feel finished. But the other 3 judges, they said they would grade the blue and the magenta only. So, I feel really bad about that. Now something I feel even worse about. Come around to December. So, come around to December. Come around to December. Some judges had barely started. As in, even with this new highlighting method I did, they were still struggling with finding the time and the will to get this done. So what I ended up doing is, in my shoes, I'm like, we can't continue this way. I have given 2 months to get these levels graded, and I'm still having problems getting these judges who have said they want to still grade in the contest, getting it done. So what I ended up doing was I sent a message to all of them saying, you have until December 20th to finish grading. That was 20 days away. And I'm like, unfortunately, I cannot go any longer because I need the results out by this year. I was not going to risk carrying this contest into 2026, having it be 5 months out till the results. I hate being assertive, but there just had to have been something to be done, because a lot of these people took off more than they could chew, and we were in a situation where, what do we do? What can you do when you have people that you kind of need to do something, but they don't have the energy or time to do it? So, yeah. I was quite miffed, but I also fully understood. If you take something on, and it proved to be 10 times larger than what you thought it was going to be, of course you're going to be like this. I feel really bad for the judges. We joined this contest thinking there'd be 30 entries. We got 10 times that amount. So, hey Link Productions. Good to see you here. So I gave a deadline. I'm saying we have to have this done by then so I can get these out before the end of the year. What that meant was some of the judges only graded the magenta. Yeah. I'm going to give Scorch as an example. Scorch is in med school. Scorch did not have time. He also had some family issues that arose. Scorch really was running the wire on this contest. Scorch started judging the blue and then he switched to magenta. I can completely understand if you feel angry about this or mad about this, that I was being dishonest when it came to how judging was being handled. And I get that. I take that this is my fault. I should have set more rigid expectations for when judging got done, and I did not. But what I can determine is the entry, 60 of the entries, like at least, it was over 60 of the entries I gave an 80 or above to. So what I can tell you is, regardless if we had this system in or not, the top 15 would have stayed the same. So the results are not affected by this. What is affected is what was affected is some people's levels didn't get seen. I fully understand if you're disappointed. This was the snafu that I had to deal with as a host. Gave me a whole lot more respect to those who were able to host and get things put together because, yeah. Jonathan, I did think about doing that, but at the same time, I promised people there would be 3 moderator judges. And I talked with these judges and they didn't want to give up the contest. That was another thing, is that when I talked to them, they were like, no, I still want to do as much work as I can for this contest. And it's, maybe I wasn't being harsh enough, but this is kind of what happened. It kind of just, the judging kind of fell apart behind the scenes. And it's part of the reason why I wanted to make this stream, is because I wanted to be transparent about what happened. Yeah. Yeah. This is something I am going to avoid in future contests. I'm going to make sure it never gets to this point. I will say I have a contest in mind for the new year, and I will say that I will be the only judge for the contest. Because having 5 judges, as good as it seemed back then, having 5 different perspectives on things became way too much when it came down to getting people finished with judging. We had to wait 2.5 months for the results, when if it was just me and Gigs, it would have been released in the first month. And that's just how it is. These people didn't have enough time. Because things got unexpectedly too big. So for future contests, this upcoming contest, I will be the only judge. It's not going to be as big of a contest, is what I'm planning. The prizes aren't going to be as big either, because it's going to be kind of a small end contest. But this won't happen. Every level will get played. In that contest, every level will get played. Am I ever going to do 5 judges again? Probably not. Because This was a problem I didn't expect. I didn't expect this to be an issue. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I understand what y'all are saying in the chat. It kind of is like grading job or homework. But there's also a priorities depending on life. Like university job. Yeah, university comes first. Scorch, for instance, is a med school. That comes first before the contest. Scorch had family problems happening. That comes first before the contest. And if that gets in the way of the contest, it's an unfortunate byproduct. But life and school should come first before the random guy you met on the internet's critter contest. So it's unfortunate, but to get the results out, this is what I had to do. Okay. I want to also briefly mention one more thing. I could have handled this better. With gigs already done, what I should have done is I should have taken both gigs and I's total score. Oh, well, it's supposed to say Scorch total. What I should have done was I should have taken gigs and I's top scores and determined what becomes boom, what becomes magenta. I only did mine. And there are, I think, 2 levels where gigs gave a higher score to than I did. And so these 2 levels, you can fully blame me for missing out inside the chance for getting in the top. One of them was Wilting Glass by Ambersent. I gave a 77.252, which made it a blue. Gigs gave a 90 to it, which would have made it a magenta when we averaged our 2 scores together. I very much dislike the gameplay in this level. Gigs loved it, which resulted in such a giant score discrepancy. It was rare. There was only, I think, 2 instances of this happening, but this was one of them. Yeah, blame me for this one. I based it off of my score only. I should have based it off the average of our 2 scores. Or at least included the ones that got averaged above an 80 as well. The other one, I think Yeah, here's the other one. The Canon Adara by Leferum. I gave a 72 to this one. Gigs gave a 90.5. Put together, it would have been put above an 80. But I only based it off of my score instead of basing it off of the average. I just didn't know how to grade this one. It's kind of my fault entirely. I didn't like the gameplay. The gameplay felt really hard and was really confusing. But did that happen to Euphoria? No, that did not happen to Euphoria. Euphoria was a solid blue between the both of us. The other one was Silhouette City that we wanted to check. Silhouette City, Gigs was actually... Silhouette City was a magenta. If I had actually averaged it out, it wouldn't have been a magenta. So, I guess there is a bonus to not doing that. There's some levels where that would have actually hurt rather than helped. So, I mean, I guess it's a pick and choose. Silhouette City would have been a blue if that happened. But because it didn't happen, it became magenta. But stuff like Wilting Glass didn't get the chance it deserved. Yeah. If you're also wondering why I didn't release the judge totals, this is why. There was just a ton of empty blanks that I would have to have talked about. And I don't want to have to, like... This is why I'm talking about it right now. Because, could you imagine checking to see what everybody scored Slash Inferno, and then seeing that it just didn't get graded by 3 people. That would have been very frustrating. Maybe it's a bit dishonest, but I just showed the total. Slash Inferno got a 69.25 because we both averaged it around that. So yeah, once, like I said, I am not happy about this. I feel very bad for this. This is my fault. Please do not go hating on the judges for this. This is my error, my miscalculation. Blame me. If this is the reason why you hate the contest, so be it. This was a giant snafu. Okay. All right, before I get to talking about comment stuff, we're going to real quickly talk about the results video. Let me put on some music. Ah, dang it. The results video. I spent so long on that. Immediately when the judges told me they were done grading the magenta, I calculated all the scores. I found everything that won the optional awards. That's something I'm really proud of, is the optional awards. Although, looking back on it, best gameplay, best echo, best creativity, and best sync didn't work how I wanted it to due to the magenta grading. So I feel bad about those. But everything else, really happy with. Yeah, I did a lot of recording that way. I was very happy with how diverse the results were. The results were calculated, and I guess I should also comment something else on the what did not go well. I will reach that out in a little bit, but let me talk about the results real fast. So, the results surprised me. In particular, let me actually pull up my other sheet here. Oh no, it's attached to this one. No, it's a new sheet. Where is it? This. Here's my total score sheet. So this is the judges' total after calculations. And then I highlighted everything that won. Why is there an extra space here? It must have been added. Okay. What I did is I cross-checked all of these to the results. I was very happy with the diverse amount of stuff here. We already talked about why Spice beat out Aether Construct. But what I think I need to talk about is why Phantom Engine is 4th. I'm going to talk about that later, actually. I know Echo left a comment in the forum. But I think a lot of you might be wondering about 2 levels that didn't score. I know Lofi was wondering. Where is Ironworks? Ironworks won the best gameplay. Actually, Aether Construct won best gameplay. But Aether Construct already won an award. Spiced already won an award, so it was left as the extra one. Where's Ironworks? Where's Pads Ballet? Those are probably our 2 biggest questions right now. Let me find their total scores. Here is Ironworks' total score, which gave it an 84, oddly enough. the level. Let's find Pad's Ballad. So Ironworks has an 84. Here's Pad's Ballad. Got an 84.65. The minimum required to go into the top 15 was an 85.65. We'll do this one, why not? So they just barely missed out. Here's what I kind of want to talk about. Let's find my comment on Ironworks. Why did Ironworks score so... Why did Ironworks not score into the top? Here's one reason. Like Aether Construct, Ironworks had some One.0 violations, including linked objects and editor layers. No, it was editor layers and Z layering. Those are the two things. Those each remove the point. It did not have an LDM, so it got 3.5 in optimization. And then creativity got a 4. From me, at least. Why did I give Ironworks creativity a 4, you're wondering? The reason was because it was a remake of Ironworks by the same guy. I think I left a comment about that. I unfortunately cannot give this one high creativity points as it is a remake of Ironworks. Other than that, an incredible level. It is his own level, but it is his own level. Creativity for this contest was stuff I've never seen before. Ironworks is my favorite level in the game. It's a remake of what I already have played and loved. I wanted to see new stuff for this contest, and I made that clear that creativity was new things. For instance, let me find Boobawamba. Same problem with Boobawamba. 3, because it's an exact remake of Boobawamba. I did give Ironworks slightly higher points than I probably should have because I thought it was very creative in the way it did portals. And the lava inside it was a really creative way to do that. But I did not give remake levels very high points in creativity. And its creativity and 1.0 score is what kind of tanked Ironworks, unfortunately. So that's why Ironworks didn't make it into the top. Why did Pad's Ballad not make it into the top? It's a 25. No LDMs, or very little LDM. It got a 2.5 in that. But that wouldn't affect it too bad. Decent score. I gave it an 87, which would be plenty of points to put it over. The judging average was an 84.65. Let's look at the total scores for Pad's Ballad. Here's my 87 score. And honestly, the scores are pretty even for the most part. It's unfortunately, though, 3 judges gave it 81, 81, 83. One gave a 90, I gave an 87. That just barely pulls it below. So that's why we didn't see Pad's Ballad in the top either. And this leads to another thing that I've been dreading to mention. Let me find a song to play here. And that is, I have a hypothesis about why some stuff didn't score very high. Two of the judges that were really struggling to find the energy to score stuff, who were getting really burnt out from 1.0, who only graded the magenta, their scoring kind of got really strict with the way that they scored levels. Which they were kind of always a little bit strict, but they got, I guess, even more strict because I got the idea they were getting a little burnt out. And so they kind of scored some really good levels quite low. My guess is they only played it once. Maybe they struggled to get through it. And so any level that had really learny gameplay maybe got a lower score than it deserved. Again, this is just purely hypothetical, but we can see it with like maybe Technomancer. That got 10th place. Everyone expected that to be higher. A judge gave it a 75. The other judges gave it a pretty high score. Skyfall and Reliquary. Judge gave it a 70. These two judges gave it a perfect score. Let me try to think of some other ones. Phantom Engine. Judges gave it 82 and an 84. The other judges gave it 96, 93, and 95. What I have found out from hosting this contest is having more judges is not necessarily better. Because what actually ends up happening is a lot of scores just get low. If the judge gets burnt out, the scores can sometimes be affected by that. And these judges got burnt out. Like Mites and Parasites, which I really enjoyed. Actually got a pretty decent overall score, but yeah. I think this one's 63 on Silhouette City, which is a lot lower than the other ones. That was an issue that I am addressing in the next contest, as I'm going to be the only judge, which means my score kind of goes. And for the most part, my scores were decent, I would think. I had what a lot of judges didn't have, which was I was basing my score off of a pre-existing level, which was the top score was I was basing off of Envious. Envious was considered a 9999 for me. If something did something better than Envious did it, I gave it a 10. I would then base it based off of how far away from what Envious considered when I was creating it. And I think that helped align the scores better for me personally. But I don't know if the other judges had something like that, but I think that's also why some of the judges struggled with grading at the end. So yeah, that kind of covers the results video. You might have noticed that a few judges kind of dipped some of those scores. Like Tiny Ballerina had pretty even scores all the way across, but something like Technomancer had something that dipped it, which prevented it from getting higher. That's what happened. There are some judges that got a bit burnt out, and so their scores end up being lower. I'm not going to send the spreadsheet just because I don't want things getting out of proportion. I don't want there to be hate. I don't want there to be anger at the judges or myself, because we were in a snafu. We handled it the best we could. I don't want to receive 70 DMs saying, why did someone not judge my level? So I can find it during the ending of this stream if you stick around to the end. But for now, I want to first talk through questions. Questions regarding the contest as a whole. Anything you want to talk about, now would be the time to ask that. If you had something that you were holding back about what you hated about the contest or you're disappointed in, talk about it now. Anything you were very proud about or happy about. Because otherwise, I'm going to be going through the response sheet that people have posted. So All right, I'm not seeing anything in chat yet. Thank you, Four Chairs. I appreciate it. Yeah. Something that I know a lot of other contests don't do is they're not transparent. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible because I think y'all deserve that. Which is why I'm telling you about the nightmare that was behind the scenes during the grading process. Because you all deserve to know that. Why don't you just have one other judge decide you for the next contest? It would be a good idea to have that, but the next contest is going to be more low-key. It's going to be a lot more low-key. There's the grand prize is not going to be as like $50, for instance. It's going to be a less, because the contest should require less effort, I would hope, to submit a level into. But Mitnerium, I answered that at the very beginning. I hosted this contest as a celebration of Envious getting featured. So. Yeah, no one expected it, Polvanok. It was quite a bit larger than we ever thought. We went way over our heads. And that's something that I now know. I understand that it's possible for me to be roped into something way bigger than myself. Way bigger than I planned on handling. So I now know how to handle that a lot better. Which is something I guess that's good that came out of all this nightmare. Is I now know. I have knowledge that I didn't have in the past. Best I can do is just use it to make sure this doesn't happen again. Glad your questions got answered, Jonathan. Am I going to limit the number of entries? That's something I've been thinking about, Lofi. For this next contest, I might have to do that. It'd be something like you can't enter more than 2 times. You can enter 2 entries. Because this next contest is going to be a lot easier to build levels for. Albeit, there'll be a lot more rules. So, we'll talk about that when I get it set up. I'm assuming... Here's the window. The next contest will come after GJJ Level 6 is released. So, I'm going to finish Geometry Jump Journey Level 6. And then, next contest, I'm planning on hosting if things go smoothly regarding the setup process. Because it's going to require a lot of effort on me to set it up. But I think it should be okay. I enjoyed lots of it. I lashed out at you for no reason. Sorry for that. Again, I don't have much complaints. Yeah, I know a couple people were a bit mad at me for different reasons in the middle of the contest. One of them was the 1.0 resurgence lists. A lot of people were angry that I didn't include their level. And I was just like, I didn't see it rate worthy. If it gets sent, though, I'll add it. Like, that was my reasoning for a lot of these people. But... And then with the Giga collab, I did have to do changes to it. There were changes that were made after the post. That's just something that happens in Giga collabs. I maybe should have been more transparent regarding changes being made. But I know Bug Day Bay, I made some changes to yours that maybe I should have vetted through you first. Especially getting your input afterwards really helps balance that part out as it was supposed to be. But that is something on me. If I host another Giga collab, I'm not planning on it. I'd be a lot more transparent with how I'm fixing things and why I'm fixing them. Falling Pie. Is it me or in the results video there was a list of all rated CC levels? Oh, yeah, Falling Pie, you were correct. What I did there is I took my modern 1.0 list, I copied it, deleted everything that wasn't in the contest, and reordered it based on contest ratedness. I'm not going to release it as a list because it's just the modern 1.0 list with less levels. But that's what I was showcasing off, was a unreleased list that had them all in order. That just came from my modern 1.0 list. Yeah, I said the contest would be canceled if there wasn't enough entries. I thought I would get 10. I was very concerned about that. I didn't realize it'd pop off. Yeah, this contest made 1.0 history for sure. I would actually argue it changed 1.0 history. It altered the course of it. In a way, I'm concerned it oversaturated it. Like, I'm working on GJJ level 6, and I'm concerned, like, what if mods don't want to send 1.0 levels anymore? We kind of oversaturated the market. But I'm just going to keep working on it and focus on making it what I personally am proud of. If it gets sent or not, I don't think it should matter. But, yeah. Let's see here. If you're just joining, I highly recommend rewinding the video and listening to everything that we've said in the past, because there's a lot of heavy things I had to get off my chest regarding the nightmare that was behind the scenes of this. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Xlophia was based on my opinion, but a lot of people thought my opinion was incorrect or that I skipped their level. They thought that, oh, maybe I perhaps skipped it. And I did accidentally skip a level, Coliseum by V-Shot. I accidentally missed because it was too hard and I was kind of flying through it. But I did later play it and add it. Oh, Gastablast contacted me this morning, actually. Or maybe yesterday. I told Gastablast that I did not have the time right now, but I would be very interested in participating in his Pokemon series. I just have to get GJ level 6 and the Winners collab done before I can work on that. All right. Let's talk about the feedback I got in the forum. So here is Deadly Blockman's feedback. They told me the contest was absolutely amazing, and I am glad to see the support you got. You have inspired me to continue making 1.0 levels. Oh, I'm very glad that I inspired you to do that, man. Thank you for entering the contest and leaving the positive review. Okay, yeah. Seb, thank you for commenting about that. There were a few entries that got low because they were too hard, or because they were learning. A lot of the hard demons and medium demons did not score very high, because what you have to realize is with 300 entries, a lot of us only played a practice run and had to determine it based off the practice run. Something I noticed with Air Raid, Murky Waters, It's Hollow, Agape, version 1, even River to some extent, their levels were very learny. They required you to play it 4 times in practice before things actually started getting consistent, which is not a bad thing. And what I did is I took that into account and I played those levels 4 to 5 times in practice mode. The other judges did not. The other judges based it off of their 1 practice run. That's why Air Raid never got sent, is because it didn't get sent by any of the mods because they thought the gameplay was bad. But in reality, the gameplay was fine. You just had to practice it because it was very different and learning. So yeah, with Murky Waters, it was the same way. A lot of the mods who played it found the gameplay to be too difficult and judged it off of their first practice run. Very unfortunate. Something that's kind of out of my control, though, because it's entirely opinion-based. I tried to circumvent that, though. I put in ways to make sure that didn't affect me as much as it should have. Even still, stuff like River, Humble Beginnings, version 1, there is still gameplay that was too hard even for me. So I just had to give it lower points in gameplay. Yeah. Did Agape get lowered because of the song? If not, that's stupid. Or if it did, that's stupid. Agape did get a lower sync score from me due to the song. And it wasn't that low. I think I erased like a point because the beginning didn't sync entirely well. Oh, no, I think the beginning did sync pretty well. Let me double check. Hold on. That would be smarter. Let me double check what I scored on Agape. I really liked Agape. No, it didn't lose sync for me. Yeah, no, Agape did not get points lowered for its song for me. I'm thinking of a Terminator level that I actually had lower points due to the song for. But no, Agape's song was fine. I thought it was weird, but for me personally, I thought it synced really well to the song, regardless of its weirdness. Agape's points was lost in its gameplay. It was just too hard for me to like consistently get consistent at it. So no, Agape's did not lower because of the song. Sorry, I just came out with that. No, I actually kind of liked the Agape song after a bit. I just thought it was a weird premise. Yeah, it's really difficult to make a fun hard 1.0 level. I think the best example I've seen is Submachine, which was made before the contest. That level is really, really good. And Air Raid's another one, a good example of a hard but fun level. That's why I put Air Raid in the unknown. But yeah, Seb, your level was fine. After I did 4 practice runs on it, I found it actually really fun. But it took me 4 practice runs, and I'm sure your test players played a lot of it before they made their evaluation. There was a couple things in the beginning gameplay parts I thought you could maybe adjust to make it a little bit easier, but no, I thought Murky Waters was pretty fun. I put it in my top 15 favorites. If you check out my favorites list, Murky Waters is 15th. Okay, let's do more form viewing. Just Cody said, "Thank you, Scully, for hosting this contest because you made me realize that I could be done with one little objects and other old updates in general. Even if my entries did not make it in the top 15, it doesn't matter because I had fun building them, and Trial of Infurion even got 7 cents. Ooh, that's awesome. And this would have not been possible if it wasn't for this contest. Also, thank you for making me check messages. Otherwise, I would have not even made it into the Giga Collab, which I can believe I'm a part of. Thank you very much. Hope we make more contests in the future." Thank you so much for the positive words, Just Cody. Yeah, no, scale was not allowed. No scale. Scaling was introduced in 2.0. That's a very kind comment, Just Cody. Yeah, that's something I forgot to mention. I messaged everybody who told me that they were interested in the collab but never actually got the role, and that was like 16 to 20 people. I sent them a personalized message asking, are they still interested? People like 4x4, Goldcraft, Just Cody, a couple other folk that joined the collab. I had to actually send them a personal message asking if they were still interested. So maybe I'm going too above and beyond regarding that, but okay, let's see. Mr. Penguin Yeet said the gameplay in my CC entry was rushed, and I will definitely update the level to fix the gameplay. Yeah. I guess I should mention that. You can freely update your levels now. You can do whatever you want with your levels now. The contest is over. No more judging needs to happen. Your levels are yours. You can change them how you want to. Thank you for joining Starcar. Hope you have a great day. Awesome, Mr. Penguin Yeet. I would love to play with the new gameplay fixes. Silhouette City was an awesome level. If the gameplay was better, I probably would have put it in my favorites as well. Yeah, GJJ6 is coming. It's just slow go right now. In its current state, I got to do block designs for the last part. The center part needs a lot of work with cloud background type things. And there's a background I want to add in like the second part. But it's probably going to be one of my best works when I get it done. It's just slow going right now with the contest on all of that other stuff. I have to get used to the editor again, but it will be releasing, I hope, in January. I'm going to really try to get it done right at the start of the new year. All right. Koav said, "This is the first CC I actually joined, and it was really fun. Thank you for hosting this, and I hope there's another one in the future. I'm still a little disappointed that I missed out on the Giga Collab, though, but hey, it's fine, lol." Yeah, I did as much as I could to make sure people knew the Giga Collab was going on. I'll have to GD post about it. I pinged the Discord several times about it. There were still people who missed it. There's not much I can do about that, but glad you still enjoyed the contest. I hope you enjoyed the Giga Club as well, even though you didn't participate in it. But yeah. Blackbird said, can you make the average score on the entries in order? Some Discord members actually figured out how to do this by changing how Sheets displays the numbers in numerical order. You can actually see what placements people got. Those sheets are pinned in the off topic and the general, so you can take a look at that. Okay, here's the comment I was anticipating to talk about. This is Echo's comment to me. Now, Echo did write this when he was a bit angry, but he has later apologized, so do not take this at face value. This was just Echo when he was a little bit mad. But there is some important stuff I need to talk about in this. Okay, I'd like to point out a few things for future contests because I don't feel like the results were 100% factual or proper. Of course, there was no way to us to know this. We've gotten 300 entries, but some of the judges should not have been entered as a judge if they knew they couldn't put the time into it or preparing for a situation where a high amount of entries could be given. Right off the bat there, I don't think 300 entries was not in the possibility range at the time that people joined. No, it's not Echo crash out. Echo was just mad. He had a bad day at work, is what I've been told. And he later apologized about getting angry. We're still going to look over this because there's some important things we need to talk about. But maybe I should have, yes. Maybe I should have kicked out the judges that weren't grading. Maybe that would have been better. I decided not to because I wanted it to be a good experience for the judges, just as much as it was a good experience for everybody else. And also, you have to realize, this is much less so the thing, but I would like to try to go for moderator, and having the judges being some of our moderators does look good for like an application. Again, that's not a big reason why I kept them. I kept them in because I wanted them to have a good experience with the contest. But I also kept it because I want to stay friends with these people. They're very supportive of my stuff. I love seeing their stuff. I would love to work with them in the future if I'm able to get moderator. So perhaps I should have been different about how I approached that. I agree, but I do think no, they couldn't put the time into preparing for a situation like this. Nobody thought this would be a situation like this. This was not a consideration for any of us until like when we really started seeing it ramp up in entries, like in the last week, did we quite realize how in over our heads we were. Now that is something now that we know, that's something that we can prepare for. Like if the other judges want to host their own contest, like how Raving Rafters is hosting their own contest, they know that it will go in over their heads and they can prepare for that. But okay, they said this ultimately ended up as the judges needed to rush to complete grading by a given deadline, which in result gave more opinion-based answers rather than actual specified proper grading parts. Yeah, it did lead into some rushing, some burnout, but everything was an opinion-based answer. The whole judging is opinion-based. That's just a given. I was told that there was a judge that did not like a level without an actual reason, resulting in a poor lower score than what it should have. That's news to me. I haven't heard of any judges that straight up didn't like a level. I mean, maybe I mentioned something like, it looks like Scorch, for instance, didn't like this level. I might have just ranted about that. Sometimes I do that with NLK. I'll be like, yeah, looks like a judge didn't like this level. Because I did keep it as secretive from NLK as possible, but sometimes it was just like, oh man, I didn't specify the level. Be like, man, someone did not like this. and then I'd say like, oh, the scores are like 90s, and when someone dropped a 78 on it. Again, didn't specify anything, but I sometimes said that to end like, hey, maybe that got around. I don't know. That I did not. I didn't think there was any judge that hated things. Yeah. Blackbird Secret Stage is a level that lost to Phantom Engine by 0.1 of a mark. However, Phantom Engine introduces new effects into the game, never seen in 1.0, and Blackbird Secret Stage does not add anything new and is overall more generic. Okay, this is the part that I really do not like. Blackbird Secret Stage is amazing. Blackbird Secret Stage is atmosphere and surroundings done probably to the perfect degree in 1.0. Did I accidentally leak the spreadsheet? Oh, I might have accidentally leaked the spreadsheet. Okay, what I can do, let me change the sharing. Okay, changed it. Okay. I don't know how to kick people out, but how do I kick people out? I did lock everything, so there shouldn't be much editing, but problem on my end. I apologize, I shouldn't have done that, but let's talk about this. Blackbird Secret Stage is not generic. Blackbird Secret Stage is probably the best use of film noir factory I have ever seen. The block design in Blackbird Secret Stage is amazing. Every single block feels different, it feels fresh. The progression in Blackbird Secret Stage is amazing. The polish in Blackbird Secret Stage was incredible. Just really, really well done. This was my favorite entry, or not my favorite. This is the entry I gave the highest score to. My favorite is Maniac Den Holiday. This is second for me. This is my second favorite entry in the contest. This, I gave a 96.5 to, or something like that. Let me actually double check. Blackbird Secret Stage, a 96.5 from me. This was my highest score I ever gave to a CC entry, because I think it deserves that. I really, really like this level, and I think this comment kind of diminishes just how good it was. Once again, don't send Echo hate for this, please. This was Echo being a little bit angry, and he's since apologized. That's all good. But I do think there was the notion that Phantom Engine was better, and I do understand that. Phantom Engine was what I graded a 95 to, like a 95.5. I gave Phantom Engine the second highest score in the contest. It's just that the other judges tanked Phantom Engine. There were two of them that gave an 82 and 84 to it. There was a judge that tanked Blackbird Secret Stage as well. In fact, let me find it here. A judge gave Blackbird Secret Stage a 76. Like, these were tanked. Both these levels got tanked. I think Echo's just mad that his level got kind of tanked just slightly more, and that he felt like he did more with his level, which I understand that. Phantom Engine just kind of came across a little bit messier, in my opinion, than Blackbird did. I think Blackbird had a little bit more polished, but yeah. And that's okay. It's okay to have opinions. I can understand if you don't like Blackbird Secret Stage. I can understand if you don't like Phantom Engine. It's just merely that that's how the judge average worked. That's when you have 5 judges, that's how it works. You just take the average of them. And it won by 0.5. That's not any particular person's fault. But I do feel like Blackbird Secret Stage did deserve its placement, but I digress. Other levels ahead of Phantom Engine also had 1.0 violations. Yeah, Aether Construct did. Aether Construct had 1.0 violations. Both Blackbird and Spice did not. So, but Aether Construct was like, everyone gave that like above a 90 too, so. I was told these would demote the score to a level, but I guess not by much. It did take away a lot. We showed why Aether Construct lost to Spiced was because of the ranking thing. 1.0 violation should have done a lot more damage. If you lost 1 point in 1.0 violations, you actually lost 2.5 points when it was after it's weighted. So they got 4th place. Phantom Engine got 4th place, which took them out of the monetary prize. That's why they're mad. That's why they were mad, Seb, was they lost the monetary prize by 0.5. A 0.5 point. By half a point. I understand why they were mad back then, so yeah. You did every point you lost was 2.5 points of damage to your overall score. I think that's a decent score, so decent point loss. But again, they didn't know that. I don't blame them for not knowing that. But if a level were very close in scores by 0.1 of a grade, the one without violation should be one in favor. Again, I don't think that's quite how it works because we have 5 judges. If that was just me judging and there was a 0.1 difference, I would probably do something like this. The one with no violations, you could put it higher. But because we had 5 different judges grading and those grades were wildly different, this is not necessarily something that could be done. Metnerium, the violations were editor layers, going above the ceiling, and micro movements, which got them an overall score of 8 out of 10, which translated to a 20 out of 25 when you weight it. I will let you, I can ask them when I send them the money, Paul and Hawk. I can maybe give you some insider on that. The rushing of the grading, I feel like, impacted the scores by a lot. It definitely did. I feel like when selecting judges to grade for a contest, they should have a lot of knowledge beforehand about what the contest. Again, none of us thought this would get big. I thought it was just going to be 30 people I knew entering a contest and that we would just all judge just for like practice, to practice judging and to see if it's something that we want to do for like future contests. Turns out it turned into the future contest that we were all judging. I chose people that supported me in 1.0 who showed support to wanting to play 1.0 levels. That's why I chose the moderator judges I chose. They love playing 1.0 levels. Scorch has experience test playing. So that's why I chose him. Though I do understand that maybe I should have chose somebody who actually built 1.0 levels. At the time, though, I didn't know anybody. I knew of Blackbird, but we weren't friends at the time. I knew of Polvanok. We weren't really friends at the time. I was really the only person who was building 1.0 levels that I knew at the time. So that's why I didn't grab anybody who was 1.0 builders as a judge. I did consider asking Endon if he would want to judge, but I thought he would enter the contest. Turns out he didn't either, so. No experience. Instead of just having interest in 1.0, yeah, it becomes a lot more opinion-based if it's just an interest. Judging in general is opinion-based. That's the thing with judging, is that there's going to be bias about which levels you like and which levels you don't like, so. I don't necessarily agree with this. I do think that maybe your opinion will be a little bit better judged if you've built in the update. So for future, like, if I do a future old update contest, maybe I'll actually reach out and see if I can grab somebody who actually builds in the update. That might be a better solution. Yeah. Especially when they are forced to rush. The placement of the Phantom Engine makes me greatly upset because second half of judging was not consistent. Yeah, that is something I actually do need to mention. And this is kind of why I wanted to read Echo's comment. Remember when I said we did the first 50 first and then the last 250? after the contest ended. I didn't everyone remember when I said that we did the first 50 entries first? Well, what that resulted in, with because there was such a difference in time, was that the judging was a little bit harsher for things after the first 50. So when we removing the disqualified entries, John's level exploration was the last level graded in the first 50. It was also what a lot of people consider to be the best level of the first 50. And this level got 6th place. The reason being, it was judged in the first 50 entries. That is my guess. That's my guess why this level plays. Because this level looks a little out of place from the rest of the results, you might have noticed. It was a lot simpler in designs. Very clean, synced great, but it wasn't as visually impressive. That's because it was judged in the first 50. That's my guess. Exploration was I've judged within the first 50 levels. And maybe perhaps the scoring was a little bit higher on it than levels in the ending. Like with Tiny Ballerina, for instance, which was entry 200. There might have been a little bit more burnout associated with the grades in the last half. No, does not mean you got the worst. You got a 73. I mean, I gave it an 85.5. Hold on, let me take a look. Yeah, Giggs gave you a 73. Giggs was done before I was. The other judges, though, that is a pretty low score. Like the 63. Like, I feel like some of the other judges kind of bumped up their standards about what they were grading for. So, yeah. No, Jonathan, you totally deserve the placement. It was just, I was surprised when I saw that. I'm like, wow, I did not realize it scored that high. But I guess it makes sense because it was graded before everything else was. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And taking into account that having less judges would actually be better because it would take less time, and less time means that the scores overall will be more consistent. Because if you have a large gap when you're judging something, there's going to be a difference in your judging between what you judged before and what you judged after. And that's something I kind of realized in this contest process, is that if you don't judge everything at the same time, you're going to get a discrepancy in your judging scores. And I think that's something that also affects big contests as well. Like the Vibrant contests and the Gauntlet contests. They have to find judges that they know can judge everything in a short period of time so that there's not discrepancies in how things are judged. So that's, I guess, just some contest theory for y'all in case you were interested. But that's on all of Echo's stuff. Leads to a very interesting discussion. Once again, they were just mad when they wrote this. There's nothing about that. Don't send them hate or anything, please. I think it brings about very interesting discussion, and I'm glad that they left that comment because I was really looking for criticism when I made this. Yeah, natural bias occurs over a judging period. You got it exactly right, Seb. Yep, because you've already seen everything, especially in a contest like this. So, yeah. Okay. I also wanted to briefly mention YFAM Engine got 4th. Again, the whole discrepancy in judging. Although Blackbird Secret Stage also affected that. I think Blackbird Secret Stage was a cooler feeling level. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. I had some gripes. Oh, that's another thing. I had some gripes with Phantom Engine because its player color made some of the orbs invisible. Because when it had used an orange and when it meshed together, it made a yellow color. And that yellow color would block some of the pads and orbs that you needed for the gameplay. So that was a personal gripe from me about why I gave that a bit of a lower gameplay score than something like Blackbird Secret Stage. So, yeah. Seb and Jonathan, you are entirely correct. So, Cat at Kmart said, yeah, where's my hates 2.2 the most reward? Seriously, though, I really loved it. My only question is, what advice would you give for the future 1.0 levels, inspired levels? Future 1.0 level, inspired levels. My advice for future 1.0 levels is find a song and build the layout first. A lot of the problem... Oh, and I guess the other thing is build in a way where you have fun, but consider what others... Like, consider what a little Timmy playing a level would think. And by little Timmy, I mean an average community member. So I think... I really am someone who supports finding a song first and building based on what the song makes you feel. If you can match to the song very well, you would make an awesome level. And the best example of this is Pathfinder by Kinda Expert. It's a simple 1.0 level, but in the way it matches its music, it lives Pathfinder. Pathfinder is the music. It's the level. The music and the level are they're so synchronized that they can't be told apart. Literally, the level is the song Pathfinder. And I think that's something that has made... Pathfinder is my second favorite level, or third favorite level in the contest. It goes Maniac Den Holiday, Aether Construct, and then Pathfinder. And the reason Pathfinder's all the way up there is its song representation and the way the gameplay works with the song. I think that is an important thing for any level, 1.0 especially. The other thing is, I saw a lot of people, when entering the contest, is they made something that just looked good to them. Like, oh, I made this air deco, let's spam it everywhere because it looks cool. And it's always good to make something look good to you. That's what makes a good level. If you think it's good, it's a good level. But there's also the outer circle of how's the community going to appreciate your project? How is the community going to look at your project when they're playing it? You always want to keep in mind the community, especially if 1.0 stuff. For instance, like Silhouette City, Mr. Penguin Yeet. There are some sections in Silhouette City that the dot art hitbox is not clear. Like, the dot is way up there, but you're cruising along below it because the hitbox is so different. By thinking about how a player might interact with that, you can move the dots in a different spot where maybe the player would be least likely to hit it. Yeah, so that's the type of thing I would highly recommend with 1.0 stuff, is because the hitboxes can be so difficult to determine, and there's so much stuff that you got to keep in mind. You want to play it from the perspective of a random child in the community. How is the child going to play this and determine, is this fun or is this not? I don't know why Linux Pro you're talking about Ubuntu. I had an Ubuntu computer. I now have a Windows computer. So I would definitely consider put yourself in the shoes of average community member and build to be the song would be my suggestions for 1.0. And for any level, I'm not going to prove it. I don't need to prove you anything. I had a Linux computer. I used Linux Mint for a while. I'm an avid SuperTux player because I grew up on that. Okay. So I gave the future 1.0 inspired level talk. We can move on to the next feedback. So, I'm the Budgerigar said, this contest is probably the best experience I've ever had in my 7 years of playing Geometry Dash. I have never really been motivated to create a serious level prior to this contest, and it was very fun seeing all the other entries being made. I still don't know how some people make these crazy designs. It was also cool to see 1.0 levels get more representation, since many people don't take them very seriously. I generally couldn't have asked for a better CC, and I hope to see many more hosted in the future. This is unrelated to the contest, but I'm having a really hard time improving my ability to create gameplay and decoration well in general. Wonder if there's a good way to improve them fairly quickly. Okay. Bear, thank you for your comments. I really appreciate that, knowing that you really enjoyed this contest. That makes me very happy to hear. Suggestions for improving gameplay and decoration. Gameplay, take it at the perspective of a random player. You need to enter your level like you're reading it for the first time. So play your level like you're reading it for the first time. That will tell you if there's any gameplay spots that need to be fixed or altered. Decoration, take inspiration outside the game. A lot of people run into the problem where they base their decoration off stuff that's already been made. And that was what led to the generic level trend in mid 2.1, where all the levels were just generically low. I don't like that. I like to take inspiration from outside sources. For instance, games. Poptropica was a big source of my inspiration for a while. I would take ideas from that. Super Tux Kart is another great inspiration of mine. And Linux Pro, you probably know that game. But I would take inspiration from the tracks of Super Tux Kart. That's where Around the Lighthouse came from, was a Super Tux Kart track. Using outside games as inspiration and just taking elements of that to create a story is really what I think makes decoration good. There's also some great stuff within the game, but you got to be careful about how you use the inspirations from within the game, because you can end up creating stuff that looks similar to another project. So that's my recommendation for decoration. For gameplay, you always want to approach it like you're a first-time player. Always approach it like you're playing it for the first time. You love Poptropica, Seb? I do too. Elmuffin says, will there be a second one? Yes, there will be. I just need to finish level 6 of the Geometry Jump Journey collection first. LD likes cats. How can I get better at 1.0 building, and where am I already perfect? LD likes cats is perfect in regards to their ideas. They have great ideas for their levels. I think what they got to focus on is the execution of the ideas now. Finding the spots where maybe there could be a little bit more added, and especially with matching the music. Find a song and become the song. Have your level become that piece of music is a great way to ensure a better 1.0 built level. So, yeah, I used to do it before Flash went kaboom as well. Poptropica after Flash is not the same as it used to be. X Lofi left a comment saying, very cool. I like the way it was structured. Very sad Pads Ballet didn't make it into the top 15, but it was fun to watch regardless. You and whoever else helped with it did a very good job hosting in this contest and making the results video. I'll definitely be joining the next one y'all make. I'm glad to hear that. We talked about Pads Ballet, so I'm also disappointed it didn't make it in. Pads Ballet is in my top 15 as well. But yeah. Did you forget you made a comment? Yeah, that's another thing. Execution comes with time. Falling Pie. If you want to see bad execution, you can play some of my old 2.0 levels. I did a lot of ideas. I had great ideas and horrible execution, especially in my gameplay. It took me probably 6 years of creating to get to where I am today. UG51 said 1.0 CC2 when? That's oddly specific. There will be another contest. It's not going to be 1.0 CC2. But there will be another contest coming up. Blobby Boy said, it was very fun to participate in this, and I love how it turned out. Will this be happening again next year? I hope it does. Yes, there'll be a contest next year, so I appreciate your kind words. Hi there, Eric says, I think the contest was well organized. My only feedback is maybe posting some of the rules, like the stuff you explained in the GD level comments in the Discord so people aren't as confused. I did! It is in the channel contest rules. So, sorry you missed that. Hi there, Eric. I had that in the server the entire time. It was one of the first channels we made. Overall, I think the contest went very well, and it's been great being in the Discord and stuff. Glad to hear that. I'm glad you're enjoying the Discord. I'm hoping to maybe just keep moving that Discord in a general hangout as well as a kind of like a mini contest server. So 0.9 CC1. That's crazy. Electrodonator 1. I'm salty my points were truncated so heavily due to my lack of restraint. But other than that, it was very well organized and very fun. Thank you for making this contest a community. I'm confused what you mean by that. Lack of restraint. Are you talking about Agape? In that case, I'm guessing you're talking about restraint in gameplay. Yeah, unfortunately, Agape, I just couldn't get consistent. I played, I did 4 practice runs on it. Was able to get the ending consistent, the beginning consistent, but that middle section, there were some parts that I just couldn't get consistent on that. So I apologize for that, but that's just was my opinion on the gameplay, which, yeah. Agape got sent. Mag really loved the decoration in Agape. They gave it like a 9.5 because it was really good. Alex the Birder, Alex E. Birder. When will you be hosting the next contest? I was very excited to work on my level. This contest has made me inspired to make more 1.0 levels. I am glad to hear that. I hope that you make more projects in the future. The next contest will be hosted after GJJ level 6. So, 17, Vandil. He just with the fire emoji. I'm going to take that as a compliment. Turkey Borger. Kind of stupid question, but did any of the entries lag? I haven't played many of them, so I don't really know if that's something people also need to avoid if you decide to do this again. Great question. For me personally, no. But that is because I have a gaming phone. A phone that was specifically meant for handling games and high RAM inputs. There were a few entries that did lag. That could have lagged. One of them, like Careless by Bosa, for instance, had a lot of objects and a lot of objects in a dense space. I think that had some lag issues and performance problems. When I went to a poorer Wi-Fi connection, I did experience some lag back regarding the long levels. If you had a level that was very long, there were some issues on a low Wi-Fi range, but I wasn't very much in a low Wi-Fi range, so probably not. Some other entries that might have lagged a bit. Forbidden section probably had some people talking about performance, I would guess. That used a lot of line objects, and those typically get pretty object heavy due to the gradient on lines. Four horsemen have entered the chat. What? The phone, I don't know the specs right now, but it is a... Actually, let me check that real fast. I have a Galaxy S23 Ultra. That is my phone type. Galaxy S23 Ultra. It's a very good phone for gaming, but yeah, I think there's a few entries that do lag if you have a poor device. Yeah, I'm an Android user. My girlfriend's not, so you have the S24. That's cool. But yeah, I didn't experience lag problems. How did I calculate optimization? I've talked about this before. Every minute of your level, I allowed 20k objects. So if you had a 2-minute level, if your level was 40k objects, it was fine. If you had an LDM that helped bring down the object count, you were also fine. But if you weren't, I took off a half point for every 10k over the limit I set. So for instance, if you had a 4-minute level, that's 80k objects. If you used 100k without an LDM, that's a point off. If you did have an LDM that covered 10k of that, it was a half point off, and so on and so forth. So even though I didn't experience lag, I still made sure lag wasn't a problem with optimization. There's probably better ways to do optimization. That's just the way I did it for this contest. So you can play me for that if you want. Slurpy Goat said it was very cool. I was just a bit confused about limitations in the beginning, little separations, etc. Very fun to be part of. Yeah, that's something I'm going to be sure to mention better in future contests that have limitations like this. Is to be very specific about what you can and cannot do. I have actually an idea of checklisting. So there's a checklist that you can use to double check to make sure that you're following all the rules. So if I do another limitation contest, I'll be sure to include a checklist. All right, we're almost off all the comments. New Prince GD, also known as Server in the server. They said, fun. Probably could have worked on a bit longer for me, but maybe get more judges as it did take a bit for the results to come out. This comment confused me when I first read it. I think what they're saying is they thought I was planning on it taking from October 10th to the 20th. That was not the case. If it was me, I would have liked seeing it done by the end of October. Because they thought this, they thought I could have maybe had more people judge it, because they thought the judges went through everything quickly. The reality was the judges I had weren't getting anything done. So I'm actually going to use less judges on the next contest, because a lot of my headache came from the judging, the fact that I had to worry about 5 people getting done. So I'm actually going to probably do less. Less is more, as they say. ElectriSpeed69 said, I really like the contest results. I was rooting for Spice as one of the levels, so it was great on that. And do you think we're going to do any other contests planned ahead, or just normal events in the future? If so, would there be any collabs with people you know or anything? And if not, what other stuff do you have planned? The future plans is GJJ level 6 complete. Maybe, if I can get it done in time, hosting another contest. And between all of that, working on the winners collab. So, talking about future collabs, I now have a collab zone in my server. So you can feel free to, if you have a collab idea, you can post it there. You can see if anyone else is interested in collaborating. So that's why I made the collab zone. If you have any ideas about a contest or a collaboration you'd like to do, you can host it inside there. Okay. Mr. Penguin GD says, hey, Scully Up, thanks for hosting this contest. This was surprisingly super fun and weirdly refreshing for me to build in one of those style. I'm glad to hear that. I like how supportive you and the other judges were to all participants. Hopefully we see more stuff like this from you. There will be more stuff like this from me, so I'm very glad you enjoyed that. One thing I'm so confused about is how the ratings for decoration and optimization affect the winners for the contest. I saw some levels that received high ratings but did not win any awards. However, you may have explained this in the video explaining the contest, and I just haven't seen it yet. Optimization I talked about, 20k per minute. If the LDM erases it down to 20k, it's fine. Decoration, it was just based off of how consistent it was and how pretty we felt it was. If we thought that it was amazing decoration through the entire level, it got a 10. If it was amazing decoration, but there was a section that wasn't very good and didn't really match, it got like a 9. So, the decoration had some cool parts, but like was wildly inconsistent and didn't have a lot of stuff. It was just kind of like normal blocks. Kind of got like a 5. If you decorated a normal 1.0 level, but it was like well done, it was a 2.5. Stuff like that for decoration. That's at least how I handled it. Yeah. All right, last comment that I got on the sheet. I don't know how to say this name. I don't know the Cyrillic alphabet. I like this Giga collab Always Forever. Glad you liked Always Forever. Always Forever is one of my proudest accomplishments from a hosting standpoint as well as from a verification standpoint. I am very happy with with the results of that level. So yeah, that is everything comment-wise I got from the forum. So chat, it's up to you. What else do you want to talk about? I see someone asked me, why do you play on a phone? It's because I started that way. I started on a tablet back on an old account that no longer can run. And I did that in 7th grade. Some of the tablet account levels still exist. But I'm not going to share those. And around like 8th grade, I got a phone for the first time and I made a new account. It was a green user account, an unregistered account. I called it quite a few things, but what I eventually settled on was Happy School. And then in around like around the summer before I went to high school, I got a registered account for the first time. Happy School was already taken, so I took Scully Hop instead. Scully Hop's the name of a Super Tux enemy. So Yeah, that's where ScullyUp came from, in case any of you were wondering. But I played on a phone through all of high school, and I did everything mobile. I was proud of that. Everything mobile through college as well. It's only recently that I got this computer to do level streaming and streams so that all you can enjoy seeing what I've done. So, or seeing what y'all have done for the contest. So, yeah. I play on phone because it's comfortable for me. We're not 23. We're actually a little bit older than that now. Yeah, we're a little bit older than 23 now, so I don't like specifying our age, but any questions regarding the contest or any comments you want to talk about regarding the contest, people in chat? Now would be the time to do so. This is kind of like the last big thing for the contest. How much has the contest affected me as a person? Well, it's kind of gotten me out of my shell. I'm a very quiet, shy person when it comes to new people. Kind of ironic because I'm a teacher, but for teachers, you learn how to put on the act. I've had to be very involved. I've never hosted a community this big. Never have been involved in a community this big. As much as I have been involved now. So it's definitely made me more of a social butterfly. So yeah, if you want to make a CC Iceberg, I can tell you a lot because I have played everything. If you're interested in a 1-0 contest Iceberg, I can give you some mysterious stuff. Some never before seen stuff. I'm not sending you my ceiling. Why did I begin creating 1.0 levels? That is a great question. Mietnerium GD. So, what happened is 2.2 released. I spent the week frantically figuring stuff out because I wanted to get a platformer right. I kind of lost a bit of my soul building that level, to be honest. But I released Cabin Escape, my one and only platformer, 2 weeks after 2.2 started or something. And it did eventually get rated. It got just rated, which I was a little bit sad about because that level was very ahead of its time, I would argue. But after that, I just kind of didn't like the editor. I kind of stopped building because I couldn't figure it out. I didn't have time to figure it out. So during the summer, I kind of returned to the game because I had that creativity urge, but I didn't want to build in the update. So I looked at a project I had built a long time ago called Imaginary Landscape that was supposed to be an open world 1.0 level. I realize now that I didn't include a lot of 1.0. I included a lot of stuff that wasn't 1.0 features in it, but it gave me the idea to make a 1.0 level again. So I found this song Golden Haze, and I wanted to just make a classic level, kind of experimenting with what I could do with this limitation. And I was able to do some really cool stuff in the level. It was a blast to build as well. All things considered, it took me only a couple weeks to get it done. And it's the first level of the GJJ collection. Because when I was building that, I started envisioning the second level. Like, how would I do a jack-o'-lantern background? And then it just started coming to me. I could envision the entire level, and then I built it. And as I was building that level, I was envisioning the next level because I was like, okay, light blue. What could I do with the light blue color? Polar Plunge. Let's do that. And the Lucky has a great song called Polar Plunge. I'll use that in a level. And I made that. As I'm working on that, I remember I was monitoring an ACT, a practice ACT room as a teacher. And I'm like thinking to myself, what could I do for a red color? Tech drive circuit. No one's done a racing thing before. Can I do that in 1.0? And that's kind of how I just entered the 1.0 scene. Was I just started envisioning levels using these limitations. So, yeah. I exist part in the Giga collab would be in it, I say. What are you referring to? For how stupid the gameplay was before the nerfs. Yeah, that part gave me some problems because it was way too hard. We did get it nerfed to a proper section though. Is there a psychological thing that makes people think that 1.0 levels are layouts? Yes, there is. And it's purely based off of what people have told others. Because people who built 1.0 levels later, people are like, that's too simple. That doesn't use move triggers. It doesn't use these colorful additions, all these decorations we have. It just uses the basics. That's a layout. That's their logic. That was the logic for the longest time in 2.0 and 2.1, where we had all these cool colors and features. If you didn't use those, it was seen as an inferior level. And what I'm very happy about in 2.2 now is that there's this idea that a good level isn't determined by an update's features. A good level is determined by how well executed it is using the features of its update. Execution is what determines a good level, not flashiness and decoration. And I'm very glad that we've taken the time to process that as a community overall, with like how with like the Space Gauntlet and the NCS Gauntlet, with the stuff that was really flashy and decorative getting criticism. It still won the contest, but it got heavily criticized where people actually took a step back, and some people turned to old update building because of that. So yeah. Jealous little Timmies. Yeah, jealousy is also another thing with it. They see a popular creator builds an older style level, and it's like, that's for creator points. You're wasting your time. You're trying to save time by making an old style level. You're making retro slop. I hate slop. Slop is just a word used by people who are jealous that they can't make something that's getting attention. Yeah, and it's an effort thing as well. But like Pathfinder looks like it's a simple level. The effort put into that is crazy because its song sync is out of this world. What if someone at your school entered in the contest? I think a better question is, what if someone at my district entered the contest? I don't work at one school. I work at every school in a district. There very well might have been somebody from the district that entered the contest. Very well that I don't even know who they are, because there's so many people in the district I work at. I work in a district of like 35 schools. So will you make 1 to 6 levels in the future? No, I will not. I don't have plans past GJJ level 7. Level 7 is where I'll be ending the series and ending probably my 1.0 building. I don't... 1.1 doesn't do too much. Unless... Gastablast, I am planning on maybe doing a Pokemon level after those. But I don't have plans for, like, furthering the GJJ series past 1.0. For instance. I'm not sure what my future is gonna look like creating after the level 7. But we'll have to see. Do you think the 1.0 style would stick to the community like the 1.9 levels did? I'm a bit pessimistic on that. I don't think it will. And I think people are going to say it's oversaturated and that it shouldn't be built in. I do think that this trend at 1.0 will fall at some point, unfortunately. I don't think, because 1.9, what you got to understand is that's considered the golden era of GD. A lot of people consider that to be GD at its best. And 1.0 was just kind of seen as the starting. So I don't think it has quite the nostalgia that a lot of people have for 1.9, for instance. So, I, for one, will always be a supporter of 1.0 stuff. I love 1.0 and pushing it to its limits. That being said, I don't know if it's going to stick around for as long as the 1.9 trend has stuck around. Okay. Any other questions you would like me to answer? Otherwise, I might wrap things up and get some water. Anything else at all? No nosebleed. I did not get a nosebleed. So don't jinx it. If there is a 1.7 contest, it will not be hosted by me. I don't like 1.7. It's one of my least favorite updates. I guess it's a medium update for me. I just don't like 1.7 stuff. Electrodynamics is not a very fun level in my opinion. Kind of give me a sour spot for the 1.7 stuff. I really like 1.6. I really like 1.8. I just don't like 1.7. Yeah, in regards to the 1.0 staying, becoming a movement like 1.9, it very well could. I forgot to mention that, like, it could stay around, and it would be awesome if it does. I would love to see it stay around. I'm just not too optimistic about it, but who knows? It might. It'd be awesome. So, okay. If there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to wrap it up here. No, we're not going to raid the 1.0 GDPS. Thank you for attending the stream. If you did not stay around the entire time, you should go back and listen to things. I talk a lot about the contest's hosting and procedures and why things are the way they were, as well as some of the snafu issues, the nightmarish thing that became the judging. Definitely go back and look at this stream. There is a lot of stuff to take and digest from it regarding the contest, as well as where I'm going from here. Thank you to those who stuck around, heard me out, forgave me, listened. I really appreciate it all. Once again, I'm just trying to be transparent about everything that happened, a lot of the stuff that was out of my control, because everyone should know that. If you want to share this with other people, feel free to do so. You're welcome. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed the contest. The biggest goal of this contest was to have fun and to try to help people push the boundaries of the creativity. So I think we succeeded in doing that. 1.0 boundaries have certainly been pushed, and it's really wonderful to see. So goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining. I will see you in another. I'll see you in the server, or I'll see you in another stream. So until then, goodbye.